Hello, it's Linda here. I recently got laid off for the second time, and so I want to take a closer look at my money that I have and see how far I can stretch it. And doing this video is more of an exercise for me to actually make me remind myself and make me realize that I am in a fortunate position, but also to show others how I got here as well. Starting out in my career with debt, making just $56,000, and how I was able to save this much money without going into any risky, speculative investments. And when I'm in tough times like now where I am unemployed and got laid off unexpectedly, uh, it's just a reminder for myself to not be desperate in looking for situations that will make me money, because there's a lot of scams out there, and I've already come across recruitment scams, unfortunately, and yeah, so there's a lot that I myself fall for because sometimes I feel like, oh, I need to make money as fast as possible. I need to make an income again. And it can be a scary situation to be in. Now, I'm going to show some spreadsheets, but just a little bit more background on me. I am really proud of what I've been able to build for myself up until now at the age of 35. And, being out of debt and also having enough savings where I think I will be okay. And so I started looking at my finances some more. I actually made a video before I got laid off a few months ago about how I reached Coast Fire. And Coast Fire means in the financial independence retirement early community, it means a point where you have saved enough money that if invested into safe mutual funds growing at like conservative 7, 8% every year, you'll have enough to retire and live for ideally the rest of your life. And so, if you don't contribute any more to those savings, that doesn't mean that you necessarily can't stop working. You still have to account for your everyday expenses. So this is just like saving above your regular monthly expenses. So I made a video that I had reached Coast Fire. I'm not a millionaire by any means right now, but I look back at that number and I realize that is way more than I need with how much I've been spending and how much I think I plan to spend. So I came up with three scenarios for myself, which are still, hypothetical. This is all kind of for fun. And also, this is just like my personal thinking with money. I'm not a financial expert or advisor and not advising you to do the same with your money at all, with exactly how I do it. But it's just to maybe give some ideas that others might have not seen before or what's possible out there as well. So I'm going to show a spreadsheet of those three scenarios, but just to go through my plans for when I get to retirement age, I was thinking like, what if I could stretch my money that I have so that one scenario is possibly I don't have to work, really until retirement age, and like retirement age, I'll be able to access my retirement funds. So one scenario A is not working. Scenario B is not working for just a couple years and then making just enough to cover my expenses, and possibly the next few years is like, not working, but expecting my expenses might go up because I am getting married. I plan to have children. I never know what the future holds, but that's something I would like for myself. And so if my expenses go up, I could plan B is still not working for a few years, but because my expenses will be high, I'll probably need to look for some kind of work, maybe part-time, to just cover the expenses or even a little bit less of the expenses. And then the plan C, my third plan, is to continue working, but just covering enough for expenses. So possibly that could be part-time as well to continue try to find work and work every year. So those are three scenarios, and I'm probably gonna do something in between all of those. And this is just kind of an exercise for fun for me. I know things change in the future, especially when kids come into the mix. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So I'm gonna share actually my budgeting spreadsheet. So those who have been on my channel and seen my other budgeting videos might view this as this might look familiar. So this is the budgeting spreadsheet I made, and I have a through free template that anybody could use in the description as well. So from this budgeting template, or sometimes I call it my bills due template, I added extra tabs at the bottom. And so what I like to do is at the end of every month, I like to tally up how much went in, how much went out. So for 2025, I have, um, oops, let's go over here, I guess. So January, February, I got laid off. And as you could see, if I just forecast $0 income at the top, um, then we go down just to see every month what's coming in, what's coming out. And so with my expenses, so I usually average about $3,000 every month. However, this year is my most biggest expense year by far in my life. I'm getting married, having a wedding, and also I had to pay a hefty amount of taxes, about 10,000 bucks. So I had to pay that a few days ago. So that has come out of my account. And so throughout the end of the year, I plan to hopefully have $100,000 in my bank accounts, whether it's invested in my mutual funds or just sitting in my checking or savings account. So that's like non-retirement money, 100K. And so from that, I have put that into my forecast. So I'm going to go into scenario A here, retire path. So if I were to not make any income, this is what I would start with. And I'm thinking of having around 300,000 to 320,000, and I'll show you what those numbers consist of as well. And right now I'm at 35, so with not working, I'm going to see how much I could stretch that money over the next 25 years. And also, I'm going to have some spots where I can get money from my Roth IRA actually. So I might do that as well if I go with plan A. So this is 2026, the beginning. I have three numbers starting out. The first 100K is from the end of 2025, what I hope to have at the end of this year. The next 100K. So this is actually from my Roth IRA. So with the Roth IRA, you are able to take out any contributions you make, not any earnings. Those will be taxed and penalized, but any contributions you make every year, that's like up to the 7,000 or so based on your income every year, you can withdraw with no penalty. And you can also withdraw rollovers for 401ks. However, you need to wait for that rollover to sit in your IRA account for 5 years. And same with the contributions you make. You just have to make sure you have your Roth IRA open for at least 5 years for the contributions. And for the rollovers, each one of those rollovers, you have to wait 5 years. But after that, you can withdraw that. So that's what I'm planning to do. Now, yes, there is a opportunity loss there because when you withdraw from your Roth IRA, you are not having your money grow tax-free anymore. Because the great thing about a Roth IRA is that when it grows with whatever investment vehicle you have it with, you can withdraw it without having to pay those capital gains tax or anything after retirement age of 59 and a half. But I weighed the pros and cons of that. And yes, while I could keep my money in my Roth IRA and make a lot of money in there, I'll already be retirement age. And I calculated whether I really, really need that extra money or not. While I have been honestly, like, while I could use that money today in a more fruitful way. Um, so I was gonna say, while I've honestly been suffering, before, but I think that, uh, the there's no question that I'm a hard worker, but I think I need to really assess, how much more effort I wanna give to something that's not for me at this time, if that makes sense. So this is the option A, not making any extra income. And then the third number there, the 120,000, is if I get to sell my house today, this year, definitely not today. If I get to sell my house this year, I'm hoping to make I have equity about 200, yeah, about 200K depending on how the market is. So I plan to take about 80,000 of that to put on a down payment on a new house. And then 120,000 would be pretty much cash to me that I will use to fund my life and hopefully my family's life as well. And so, yeah, so with EPS, my fiance and I, he works as well. And we've talked about me being possibly not working for maybe the next couple years. He understands it. We're definitely thinking we're going to assess it at the end of each year. However, I'm still open to opportunities if they're the right fit and stuff. And so we'll see how things go because I still have my plan C of continuing to work as well. But that's the number that I'm starting out with, and so that 100 plus 100 plus 120 is about 320. I also need to mention that I have more Roth IRA distributions that will become available, making that 5-year mark that I'll be taking out throughout these next 25 years with this plan. For instance, 2 years into this plan, in 2028, I can take out 70,000 more dollars. And then about 5 years from now in 2030, I could take out that $32,000 that I rolled over this past year that I just paid tax on. And then a year later, I could take out about 40, 50K from a leftover 401k. I plan to roll over this year or next year. So I'll be having some money I could quote unquote have coming in from my Roth IRA. And this will still have enough money in my retirement savings by the time I retire that I should have enough as well. I have my money growing at a conservative yearly rate of 7% if I invest it in mutual funds. And that's pretty conservative because for the past decade, even with all the ups and downs, my retirement savings and investments have been growing at 10% on average. And so my monthly expenses, I put around 3,000 to $3,500 a month, and this honestly is stretching it a little bit. We'll see if I'll be able to do this with a family because with kids, I definitely don't want to cheap out on them at all, and so this might be where it gets a little bit unrealistic, and I might find something between plan A and plan B, but saving money is kinda like a little game to me as well. I find it, enjoyable to find ways to save money, and so I definitely we'll be able to find savings some places, we're not planning to take our kids to private school. I really value my own public school experience, stuff like that. Daycare, we won't have to worry about if I stay at home. So there's those huge expenses that we don't have to worry about there. Um, and also that $3,000 mark, I I we'll see with inflation how it goes and expenses, but I've been able to keep that amount in my own budget for all throughout my career ever since I started working. I always I always split up my paycheck into 2 accounts, and I got paid usually biweekly or twice a week, and I always set aside $1,600 every paycheck, to my checking account, and then the rest would be to savings. And so that's $3,200 a month, and I always had money left over, and so I've been able to keep that consistent for the last 10 years, and, maybe I'll be able to keep it consistent for the next 10 years and even more. So we'll see how that is. It is very idealized, I admit. I think that there's other savings, like I won't have to pay for a mortgage alone, that will be split, and other expenses will be split as well. So this is definitely best case idealized scenario. However, if I were to be able to consistently spend the way I've been spending until retirement, I ideally, idealized scenario again, would not have to work. And so, coming into like 2048, it is gonna be that low number does scare me. I would have like $17,000 outside of my retirement account, but my retirement account will be enough for full retirement afterwards, where I could spend even more money in retirement and such. So that $17,000 is what I would have, forecasting it out 25 years from now. And so that's plan A, the more idealized version, never having to worry about making a single extra cent ever again, but money money will be tight, not gonna lie. It will definitely still be tight. Um, so plan B, which is more maybe what I'm leaning toward, might be between plan A and plan B, but plan B is a 5-year hiatus plan and then restarting work. And also during the next 5 years, I have doubled my expenses on at least, on my half the side to 6,000. So 6,000, that's double the expenses, and seeing how I spend and seeing how childcare costs is nowadays, I think that's I think that is, um, a a lot of money, to spend, and so that's something that with this amount of money, I probably will have a lot saved over every month where I could save for a new nice car. I'm planning to get a new car maybe, so I could save for that, and so that's, like, not working for 5 years and, spending double the amount than that I usually spend in those 5 years. And so most likely, the way it will go is I will maybe take some time off and just concentrate on my family and concentrate on just, like, taking care of them and taking care of my kids, and when I have kids, and see like, just spending what I need when I need it as well. I'll be, keeping an eye on expenses, of course. I definitely don't wanna go extravagant or anything still. I don't really feel the need to for that, but, this kind of budget for the next 5 years, I don't really I feel like I don't really need to be as, like, holding tight to my wallet and holding as tight to the reins, but I could still take some time off, and those first 5 years I feel are really crucial. I feel that would be good me personally to possibly stay at home, and then when they reach like 5, 6 years old, they'll be going to kindergarten and starting school. So then that's when I could start some work again, possibly part-time again, and while they're away at school, and then I'll start making some income, like, so I calculated that for 2030, and so I put, like, negative 1,000 there because I kind of also gave myself leeway, like, um, I could try to get work to cover the rest of the expenses, so we're not in a negative every month, but if we're still in a negative for like, $1,000 every month, I guess, like, when I say negative, um $1,000 goes out every month, I will still be okay by the time that I retire. Actually, by the time I'm 59 and a half, I'll have over 150K in the bank as well. So there's some options. So for the next 5 years, it's just gonna be with so many changes that I'm expecting to happen in my life. I just have no clue how much I'll pay if my expenses will double. So that's like I think a more realistic scenario. So that's scenario B. So scenario C, the third scenario, is actually, don't retire early, don't stop working, and just continue, to work at least just the amount to, cover your expenses, and you're not saving any more money. So this is scenario C. It's kind of hard to describe on the screen here to show on the screen, but basically, I have like no plus or minus. I'm not taking anything out of my Roth, so that could stay in my Roth account and grow tax free. So that will increase my wealth and my money a whole lot when I get to retirement. But for my regular non-retirement expenses, it would just be even. So with my expenses, I possibly could just get a part-time job and make that amount, or maybe look for a full-time job, but it will still relieve the pressure off me to try to look for a specific job that is making, like, a really high amount or the same amount that I made before. So, scenario C still has less pressure, but I'm just working every year, not taking any hiatus, and so, with that, I actually feel like this is a scenario that is least appealing to me, even though I will have way more money, but it's way more money than I need because so this follows kind of my Coast Fire retirement video that I made, like, by the time that I retire, and then by the time I turn about 65, I will have $4 million in my bank account. And at first, I was thinking $4 million just for myself, just me alone, uh, without anybody else, is what I needed. And I realized, like, that is way more than I need. Wouldn't know what to spend it on. So if I were to keep like similar spending habits in my retirement age, even if I calculated, even if I were to triple my expenses from $3,000 to $9,000 when I'm in my 60s and when I retire in my 50s and 60s and until the day I die, like by I don't know how long I'll live, but even by 85, my money can potentially grow to $20 million. Just me, myself alone. And that's me not contributing anything to retirement, still living my modest lifestyle, which is still enjoyable. But even if I increase my lifestyle three times, like, um, $9,000, who knows what that will be? $9,000 in expenses, who knows what that will be worth um, 30 years from now. But, that is 3 times more than I spend today. So, uh, yeah, it's just I don't imagine myself spending too much more than that, to be honest. Too much more than 3 times what I'm spending now. And so if I were to spend that much, I would still have $20 million when I die. And honestly, that makes me sad to think about. That makes me think that I wasted my money in a way that's opposite from what people usually normally think of wasting. Like I saved too much that I didn't get to utilize my money in the way that I wanted to throughout my life, throughout my youth and living days. Like, yes, uh, saving is important. And, I could buy like a mansion, a really nice house, but I would rather want to buy that in my younger age when I have kids. Like, I just see, my parents are an example. A lot of people and older couples out there, they downsize from their houses to a smaller house after they're empty nesters and kids move out because it's just two of them or one of them living alone. And so I don't really see myself in like a big mansion when I'm retired. It's like all more upkeep to me. It's just more things to worry about for me. And so I could become a philanthropist and, give it away, but I think I'd rather want to use that money, even even though throughout my younger days today, it's gonna be way less than $20 million, like, but I'd rather use that in a way that's more meaningful today, and it doesn't mean I have to be a millionaire today, but I could still use my money in a meaningful way that will help myself first and foremost and help my family and help others as well. So, yeah, dying with $20 million makes me sad. Um, I don't know if I even wanna die with $1 million, to be honest. That's something that my opinion might change on this throughout the years. Who knows what will happen? Um, but that's scenario C, and that's something that, uh, is an option, and I don't necessarily have to stress too much about work, as much, but we'll see. So, I think I'm gonna be somewhere in between there. I don't foresee myself, like, completely not making an income and not working for the next 25 years, but that's something that would be interesting to see, uh that I see that is an option if I were to skip. So those are the 3 scenarios I wanted to share with some numbers along the way, and just, I guess, a little bit about retirement savings. I definitely do think I saved too much specifically for my 401k, traditional 401k retirement. I think, it's never a bad thing to save money, but I kinda wish that I saved it more outside of my retirement vehicles, so I could potentially access it. And there's I go back and forth in that thinking there's pros and cons. And also, sometimes I think that the government should allow us to access our 401k savings or retirement savings without a penalty if we came through hardships like medical issues or being laid off like this. I think that that would be be a positive. I do see negatives that come with that where people can just blow it all too much and just not have anything for retirement because we're human and we as a society, I guess, like, there's plans in place like the 401k, traditional 401k. So it's good that employers give you a match with that, but they should also give you higher salaries, of course, where they can. Um, I just think 401ks, I realize now they're more of a tool there to help us just protect us against ourselves, which is also kind of sad to think about that as a society we need that, but it's the truth because when I see so many people in debt and wasting money, like I can say I myself would have self-control that if my money was not in a 401k and if I just were able to save it outside of that, into my own brokerage mutual fund account, I would be able to have the self control to not touch it, know it's there for retirement. But who knows? Who knows what I would have actually done? Like I say, I tell myself I'm a really good saver and I have been really good at saving, but it depends, if that were open to me now. I think that I definitely am glad that I'm rolling over my 401k to my Roth. Of course, I have to prepare for those six-figure tax bills, or, like, those five-figure tax bills. Luckily, I haven't had to pay six-figure tax bills, but five-figure tax bills is quite a lot, that I have to prepare for, and, if you do have a 401k, I definitely still highly, highly recommend at least saving up to that match, getting that match. A lot of companies do up to 5%. And so that's free money right there. But yeah, sometimes I think like I wish I just saved only up to that much so that I could have money during my younger, healthier years. And then I can still be confident that I would have enough money to retire. So it's definitely personal, this personal finance stuff, you would have to do your own calculations on what you're comfortable with in retirement and what you are not and what's safe for you. I just think that for myself, I save a little bit too much where I'm in that same kind of scenario that a lot of people are, that see themselves in as they reach retirement with early withdrawal required, not early withdrawal, but required minimum distributions, RMDs, they have to take money out. And sometimes they find themselves in like a higher tax bracket when they retire. And so they end up actually spending more money to invest that. It's a good problem to have. If you have too much money in your retirement, it's a good problem to have, but it's definitely something I'm gonna try to minimize before I retire, so I could use my money in a way that I earned this money, I need to use it. I've been saving too much. I still recommend saving, definitely, but for people who save too much, this is definitely something to think about. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about with just reassuring myself that I think I will be okay if I just stick the course of just and also be confident in how I handle my own money and not be so desperate for that new opportunity. I realize I'm not in a position where I have to fight for money, and that is such a privileged position to be in. That's something I want to help try to instill in more people who come across my videos as well on how to have a mindset of saving money the right way, not having to depend on too many. material things when you don't have the money for it, but if you have the money for it, go all out, get all those luxurious things. But, like, just trying to help people get out of debt. I'm also trying not to put too much pressure on myself to post content or post things because, for a sec, when I got unemployed recently again, I was like, "I'm gonna crank out all these videos. I'm gonna give myself, like, a year to see how my YouTube channel goes." No, I don't need to do that. What for? I don't need the money. Even if I have like 1,000, get 1,000 subscribers, it's still just making like pennies. So, and like arbitrary numbers. That's something I need to remind myself of that, like, not to, I don't need to put pressure on myself to prove anything anywhere, really. So, I'll continue posting about a lot of different topics on here. I'm really passionate about finance, personal finance, helping people get out of debt, and also finding ways to save money as well. And so, yeah, I'll continue to be doing that. All right. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.